No, I just did, bro. Absolutely. How about you? No, I sent everything in earlier, so you have to check your email. But I'm getting ready to go live right now. Yeah. Yeah, today was kind of slow, but it was cool, productive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talked to him. Yeah, I got a chance to talk. I gave him some advice. He said his mom's gonna give me a call later, so yeah, I'll talk to both of them. What professor you taking? Yeah, he know me. Yeah, tell him to call. Tell him I'm your tutor, and he gonna and watch what he say. Yeah, all the professors know me at GCU. Well, I lecture in his class on Wednesdays. Yep, yep. Uh, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It'll just it take me about like 35 minutes to get up there because I don't get on the highway. So that's in like North Phoenix, the main campus in like North Phoenix. So it'll take me about like 45 minutes. Yep, yep. No, it won't take me long. Yeah, I already figured that out, man. I already figured it out. But just if they have a thing called Rate My Professor. You can go on there and look at. Hmm. Yep, you can go on there and you can go on there and check it out, family. So just take your time taking those courses and tell your professor. Yep, yeah, he know who I am. Yep, this is gonna be your first semester at GCU. Okay, so every Wednesday I lecture in the doctoral library. Yep, and I usually lecture in his class, and he'll give you credit if you come to my lectures. He'll give you credit for that. Yep, yep. Okay, I love you. I'm about to go live now, family. I love y'all. Okay, and don't worry about it, man. I'm gonna show you how to write an APA format, and I'm gonna show you how to yep, do the annotated bibliography. I'm gonna show you all that. So don't even be stressing, man. Cause the college library is not that good. I got my own library with over 1 million books and documents that I share with a lot of the students that I tutor. So let me just call you after I finish this little teaching now, and we'll touch bases. Okay? Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Okay, peace. Peace, family. I was just finishing a call, man. One of the students at GCU that I had the pleasure to meet having a little difficulties of writing in APA format. An APA format is when you get in your master's degree. It's just a writing style that you have to write in, and a lot of times, a lot of students struggle with that, and then they struggle with the online library at GCU. So what I do is I mentor a lot of college students I tutor them on campus. A couple of professors that I had when I was doing my undergrad and my master's degree at GCU, they allow me to lecture in their classes, and they allow me to teach their students how to write an APA format, Chicago style. But that's just things that I love to do, and the students take care of me doing that. But a lot of the colleges, the online library is not that great, you know. And so I share my library. I have over 1 million books and documents. So a lot of the college students that may get financial aid or may pay out of their pockets or their parents pay out of their pockets, they don't have to waste their money purchasing brand new books that the professor may only use a couple chapters out of. I'll allow them to get the books from me, PDF, and they download them on their tablet and they share them with the rest of the students. Or I just print it and bind them and give it to them for a fraction of the price. Because a lot of times when they use their financial aid, or if you pay cash for those books, when it's time to turn that book in after the class is over, you're not even getting, you hope you get 10% of the dollar. I've met students, and when I first got in my college studies, I bought anatomy books and math books that cost $500-$600. And when I try to return them after the semester is over and didn't even crack the book, they try to give you $20. And these is facts. And if you was a college student, especially if you're taking graduate studies, you know what I'm talking about. Especially if you struggle with writing in APA format, you know what I'm talking about. And a lot of college students do have a struggle writing APA format. And a lot of the professors that I had, they send them to me. And the reason why I'm able to mentor them, because I was a student. I know the ins and outs, what it takes. I know the dedication it takes, especially if you're taking classes online, because it's a misconception that think you can just do whatever you want when you're taking class online. But you got to respond to the professor. You got to respond to all your students, and you have to really do the work. You have to really do the work. And if you have to pay attention to the lectures, you got to really, really, really know how to study and write things down and know how to take notes. And so I just jump on here in my free time after I'm lecturing and after my regular life that I do, because I have the time. I'd rather be productive instead of just sitting down doing nothing and being negative. I jump on here and I challenge my brothers and sisters to use their brain. When I talk about things, I don't have a fight in any political fight. What I do is like to have these intellectual conversations that I'm able to do on a college campus with reason. So when I talk about politics and Democrat and Republican, I don't have a dog in the fight, because I cast my vote and I vote on law and policy. I know what law and policy consists of. I know what the electoral college consists of. That's why I don't argue with anyone about no one's political fight, or especially no misnomer black agenda. I'm not here to do that. I'm an American. I want the best American. I'm not an African American. I'm not a misnomer. I'm from America. All my family is from America, but I understand the continent of Africa. I understand those things, but I'm an American. None of my family never been slaves. All my family been here in the States and own land. I don't diss the continent of Africa and all those people. I don't diss no one. I'm not here to argue with no one. That's not my thing. So when people jump on my page with disrespect, I just block them. I don't have any problem with anybody coming on my page and listening, but I'm not here to promulgate no prejudice. I'm not here to promulgate no political party. All I'm saying is I just jump on here and share my thoughts and my education, which is peer-reviewed scholarly research. So I'm not here to argue or debate with anyone. I have love for everyone. And the United States of America is where you can be who you are. I met so many people that come from different dictator countries and things, and they come here and be doctors and be lawyers, and misnumbered black people be here all their life, and all they want is some welfare and some government assistance, and say the white man is holding them back, which I don't believe in none of that. I understand law. I understand civics. I understand the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment. I understand the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. I understand manumissions. I'm not here to argue with anyone. That's my whole thing as a teacher. Because if your son was taking history or anatomy or civics or micro or macroeconomics or any other arts, and they had the how can I say, the option to choose what professor that they want to study under. Because now in academia they have a website and it's called Rate My Professor, and so a lot of the college students are able to choose what professors they like. And a lot of professors use me at GCU to reach a lot of the students that's struggling or maybe feel that they're not learning. And I come right in and show them how to learn and show them how to study, no matter what your no matter what your so-called nationality consists of. That's not my plight. My mission is I understand who I am, and the Creator created everyone with your religious freedoms. And so I challenge everybody to know their nationality, their spirituality, and their race. That's not for me to tell someone who they are or who they not, just based on the color or your skin tone or your you per se. That's not going to tell you what blood is running in somebody's veins. And I'm not going to be prejudiced in no aspects of life because the Creator created the red bird, the blue bird, the black bird, the polar bear. We all are made in the Creator's image. Hate, racism, that comes from your upbringing, that comes from your family, that comes from your surroundings, your community, and whatever that you into. And that's where hate and racism come from. We wasn't created to hate on each other. That's not normal for us, you know? And so I'm okay with people jumping on my page being trolls. I'm okay with all that. I'm fine with it. I'm going to continue to teach and continue to teach all different nationalities that I teach every single day. So I'm going to highlight a couple books. I'm going to highlight Gratitude You from England. Peace, my brother English from England. Peace, brother from Iran. And when my empress, she works at the hospital, one of her friends is a Bosnian American. And there, what a person will say, European, Albion, Trinidad, no disrespect. I'm just using words that, you know, we use if somebody call you a Negro African American. But anyway, I did a union with one of my wife's Bosnian doctors, and they sought me out. They was like, we didn't want no one to do a union. She said, we don't care about no preachers and all that. We wanted someone that know who they are. She said, we wanted someone to know who we are to do our union. And they're so-called European, whatever somebody want to say. And their whole family is like that. Her mother reminded me of the lady on, I can't think of the lady name on Rocky, where he was fighting a Russian guy. And his wife, I forget her name, but her mother have the same type of accent. And we sat and we talked. She talked about how when she was in the Netherlands she was talking about, like, I had a shirt with the Corsica flag on it. And she knew all about Swarty Pie, Black Pete. She knew about all the Moors. She knew about all that. She knew about all those things. And a union is a marriage, what people say marriage, but they don't go to the city hall and get marriage license because they know that's a civil contract. They do it the right way. And all they do is have a witness and a notary of the public. They don't go to the city hall and get no marriage license. They know those truths. Because if you don't know that, then you go to the government. Just like a lot of my family that have a nationality, they don't go to the hospital and have children. They have midwives. They don't go to the hospital and let them take their placenta and let them get them and all their rules. Because when you go to these organizations and to these government-ran organizations, you are a willing obligor. Either you're going to do it with your religious set or you're going to go and take their services. And when you take their services, you have to abide by their bylaws. And so when I did their union, it was beautiful, you know, and me and my wife, you know, we had our native regalia on. I had my tunic on, you know, with my shawl, and it was a beautiful union. But like I said, I give gratitude to everybody. But with that being said, I mean, I don't even know where to begin, but I'll begin with some history because I said I'm going to highlight a couple books for study, for recommended study. Oh, thanks for the donation. I also have my college buddies on here from GCU because I like to have them on their own platform because it's a lot of students and professors, and I don't like to mix that when people be saying crazy stuff on here or they just be hating about me or whatever they do. I don't have time for that. So I try to keep those things separate, my different people that I deal with. So I do have my college professor and I do have students on here on my other social media platform that I tutor. And so the first thing I want to talk about is in a biblical scripture, because I teach biblical scripture as well, especially those on GCU campus that's getting their master's degree in theology and first century history and religion. But in the biblical scripture, I want to give a text. And it's coming out of Matthew chapter 5, verse 34. And it's talking about not taking oath. When a lot of people accuse me of, they'll say, oh, he's a master mason and all this because they don't understand about signs and symbols. But it's a book by Albert Churchward called The Primordial Man. One second. It's a book by Albert Churchward, Signs and Symbols of the Primordial Man, which I have the pleasure to lecture on at a college campus. And a lot of the educators in first century spoke like I spoke. And Dr. Albert Churchward was best known, a British disciple of Gerald Massey. I told y'all ever got to research Gerald Massey, whose 6-volume works, Ancient Egypt, The Light of the World. It was 2 volumes. The Book of the Beginnings is 2 volumes, and I have all those books available for everyone. I converted 1 million books to PDF that you can download on your tablet or your cell phone. Check out my online book company called mypdfbooks.com. That's books with the Z. And I also have another company called bindedbooks.com where we print and bind expensive books and rare books that cost thousands of dollars on Amazon. But it was 2 sets. It sets in motion a new and radical approach to the history of African civilization and the African contribution to the social thought that went into making the world's 3 major religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And as an adapt, we know those, we call that the triple rows of the adapt chamber, the Paraclete, the Fatimid, and the Jerusalem. When I have a clear understanding, that's why I'm able to go in all different houses of education and teach. I never get disrespected by different nationalities. It only be misnomer Black people, or it be no disrespect, misnomer Europeans, Albion Tralodites, no disrespect, that just be trolls. But educators and professors, and even my European Masons, that's 32 degrees, I get no disrespect. Even my Jewish colleagues out here, my European Jewish colleagues that call me Melchizedek and I tutor their students and their kids, I get no disrespect because I operate on love and truth. I just know who I am. And that's where it stops, But it's difficult to assess that the value of Dr. Churchward's great contribution to history without referring to his master teacher, Gerald Massey. Massey did not begin his career searching for Africa's place in the world, in world history. He was an agnostic whose intention was to prove that the basis of European civilization was created outside of Europe by people that some Europeans later characterized as savages without a history or culture. His search led him to Egypt, where he found proof that Western culture was, in fact, African in origin, the large portion of it coming mainly from the Nile Valley. His disciple, Albert Churchward, continued his important work, and in his book, takes his search into another dimension. Men like Gerald Massey and Albert Churchward were battling against a wall of European misinformation about contributions of non-European people toward the civilization of the world, and only a few radical European scholars were able to understand the full impact of Churchward's work. I got other documents, and it talks about all the first century European scholars that didn't have a problem of talking about what was going on in the first century. And when I take a break, I go get that other book and I just give you all the professors and all the first century scholars and writers that didn't have a problem to attest what I'm saying. I might do that at a later date. I'll stay on this topic. I use that for later. But it's a volume. It's called The Negro Question. And it's like about 6, 7, 8 volumes. And then matter of fact, on my next teaching, I'll break all those down. I might do it later on tonight. I think I will. And I'll break down a couple volumes. I think I'm going to do that later on tonight after I get done making my runs. but the full impact of Churchward's work at the time this book was written. What is the essential messages of Albert Churchward today in an era of new scholarship and new and bold challenges to old concepts about the history of the world and the condition of the African people toward the original and development of the world civilization and culture? Albert Churchward begins his work with an examination of Freemasonry, its rituals, signs, symbols, and their contribution of social thought. What he is saying is, essence, that Freemasonry was a part of the Nile Valley civilization. By extension, he is also saying that higher learning, which was carefully guarded at earlier times in history, gave birth to secret societies. In these secret societies, there existed the educational approach that will lead to the establishment of the world's first universities. And that's where I come in, the educational approach. What he says, in fact, is that the origin of the university comes out of the Nile Valley civilization. The first university was in Salamanca in Spain, in Timbuktu. African people developed signs and symbols as a way of communicating and delivering messages. When I see misnomer Black people that's on TikTok, and every time they see the compass in a square, they always try to associate that with some evil, but they never use a contractor in school on your pencil to circumscribe the world. They don't know what the hex alpha is, which is the graduation cap, and the circle. They have no idea. We just caught up in spookism. That's all misnomer Black people do. They caught up in lies, those that we call perverse and not into the know, because we're not initiated. I didn't say an oath, initiated into the wisdom. It's through Churchward's examination of most of the known cultures of the people of this day that the signs and symbols of the primordial man is revealed. At this juncture, we need to be reminded that the Nile Valley stretches over 4,000 miles into the body of Africa, and that the creations of the Nile Valley civilizations cannot be attributed only to portion of North Africa and the Greeks called Egypt. The Nile River was the world's first great cultural highway, bringing people and cultures out of the body of inner Africa. This great cultural migration led to the people of Egypt, making Egypt a composite civilization comprised of different African people who dwelled along the banks of the Nile River. Just because someone's skin is darker than yours, that don't mean that they're not a native to the land. But misnomer Black people, they think every copper colored race, which is American, have big old noses and dark skin and kinky hair. And that's just not true. It's just not true. A lot of our own people can be so prejudiced and so racial because they're not historically and scientifically correct on nothing. They operate on feelings. And it's just facts. The civilization that developed in Egypt was the culmination of civilization in Africa. None of the components that went into the making of what we now call Egypt came from Europe or Western Asia, commonly called the Middle East. And then when I talk about the Arab, and a lot of people spell it A-R-A-B, but it's A-R-A-P, you get an old dictionary by Vladimir Dale, his definition of the Arab. And it's not, no disrespect again, it's not what we think the modern Arab is. He tell you what the ancient Arab is. It's another first century writer named Bertram Thomas. He wrote a book called The Arab. He tell you what the ancient Arab is. He stayed with him. And what Google tried to do, and what a lot of book companies tried to do, they tried to take a whole chapter out of the book where it tells the truth. But I have all the original books, and I turned them into PDFs for I can share them with the world. So you don't have to go on Amazon and pay hundreds of $1,000s for these books that you know you're not going to buy, and they know you're not going to buy. No disrespect. I got a book that costs thousands of dollars called what is it called? It's by Vladimir Dale. It's called Russian Icons by Vladimir Dale, and it shows all in the monuments what the people of the Messiah look like, and it goes back into Maccabees how the heathen tried to whitewash themselves in the history books, and it's no disrespect. It's no disrespect. It's no disrespect. Well, academia, what D. Taylor said, academia be hiding too. I would disagree on that because they can't erase what's in the books. Now you got to remember, pseudo academia and program learning is what they teach you in classes, but the libraries, the information is there. So when we say academia is hiding, I say I would disagree because everything I'm talking about is in all the libraries. We just don't know where to look at in first century, in the dark ages, in the medieval times. when you look up in Europe history. It's all there. So when I say program learning, hide things, but it's nothing is hidden. If I have it, nothing is hidden. It's in our face, and we just not introduced to it. And so that's why in academia it's called pseudo academia. You must have a good teacher. You must have a good tutor. Because when I go to Europe and all those places, they know all this. So academia not hiding is just how we've been taught, because a lot of us just go to school to get a passing grade, to go get a job. We don't do extensive research. We don't do peer-reviewed scholarly research to come and compare and contrast. I'll give an analogy. When I got my dual master's degree, I got my dual master's degree from Grand Canyon University in first century history and religion and Christian studies and Christian counseling. My whole oral dissertation, I was like, I'm not going to speak, as no disrespect, as a European. And a lot of these words, it was in Greek, it was in Koine, it was in Paleo Hebrew. And so a lot of stuff that we think, when I break down the etymology of words, my dissertation was proven that is Eurocentric and Negrocentric propaganda. That was my oral dissertation, and I graduated with honors. So what I like to say is you must have a good teacher to bring these out. And it's not a professional job to tell you this. That's why they sign a contract. And it's contingent on them signing that contract. What? To give you program learning. They have a whole reading list in academia. They have a reading list to tell all students what to read. That's why you must have a good teacher that's educated and anointed and consecrated and have done extensive research like I have done. From no biasness. Most of my mentors in college were not misnomer Black people. They were European Jewish professors and lower level Masons, because they knew I was 99 degrees of ancient writer, Memphis and Mizraim. They knew I was part of the Philosophical Research Society because they looked me up. So I was introduced to it. And the most of the misnomer Black professors, they lied with all that Black stuff, like you African and this and that in the area. They didn't teach about the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment. They didn't teach about manumissions. They didn't teach about the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. They didn't teach about the religious rights of the indigenous people. They didn't teach about House Joint Resolution 75. They didn't teach a lot of those things. I got a lot of European colleagues out here that's Scottish Rite Masons, and they know more about Noble Drew Ali than the average Moor. You can go on my page and see one of the European colleagues that's a Scottish Rite Mason giving credit to Noble Drew Ali on his 135th birthday. It's another professor named Spencer Dew. He's a professor at a lot of Christian colleges. He wrote a book called The Aliyhites. It's another brother named Peter Moon. That's his pen name. Pen name is his pseudonym. He wrote a plethora of books on Noble Drew Ali called Spondu Mysteries. So I just like to give information, and I'm not here to argue with no one. But when we accuse academia and say, well, academia hide things, academia don't hide things. Program learning hide things, because everything is in the library. Everything is recorded. It's for us. It's for people like me that's educated to come on back here and educate the world, because I get paid swell. But a lot of stuff I'm going to stop because a lot of my people don't give donations. And I teach a plethora of people. I come on here on my free time, and every time I ask people, please give a small donation to Cash App $KG Bay, so we can continue to do this ministry, so I can continue bring books and convert them to PDF and print them and bind them for y'all. And I'm gonna show that. So let me finish, and we'll go to the next topic. None of the components that went into the making of what we now call Egypt came from Europe or Western Asia, commonly called the Middle East. At this point in history, we cannot discuss Europe because there was no Europe in name and as a political entity in the world. Europe did not exist. There was no mention of Europe in early ancient history because at the time, Europe was very busy trying to extract herself from the impact of the last of the ice ages. Surviving and just staying alive was the most serious thing the Europeans were engaged at the time in early history. In connection with this book, there is also a need to examine the works of the greatest American disciple of Gerald Massey, Alvin Boyd Kuhn. Kuhn is best known for his books, Who is the King of Glory, which is a beautiful book, I'm writing it down, family. I'm writing it down for you, and I'll send it to you. I just like to write notes, so when people be asking me stuff, I won't forget. But I wrote it down, bro, so I'll send it to the GCU email. Okay. Kahn is best known for his books, Who is the King of Glory, which in my opinion is one of the best books on early Christianity, and Shadow of the Third Century. That's another book. I'm writing it down for you, brother. Shadow of the Third Century. Don't let me forget, I'll email you that too. And thank y'all for those donations. It deals with the Conference of Nicaea and its aftermath, especially the opinion of an African theologian known in history of St. Augustine. St. Augustine. In referring to the European participation in the Conference of Nicaea, St. Augustine said, and I quote eloquently with a silver tongue, "These people are trying to revamp and give back to us a concept we have for over 3,000 years." St. Augustine, in identifying the early African origin of the concept that the Europeans will later call Christianity, is indicating that this concept exists among African people without the dogma and formalization. Before the birth of Europe, in the introduction to Who is the King of Glory, Alvin Boyd Kahn has this to say, and I quote, "The pick that struck the Rosetta Stone in the loamy soil of the Nile Delta in 1796 also struck a mighty blow at historical Christianity, for it released the voice of a long voiceless past to refute nearly every one of Christianity's historical claims with a withering negative." Remember, it's a book called, what's the book? Oh, man. Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. I converted that to PDF. All my brothers that be in a fraternity and all that, and they be talking about they some Greek gods. Well, all you got to do is read Stolen Legacy and then come back to me and have a conversation, and then research old videos by Steve Coakley when he talk about the Greek is a fraud and the boule. And then I start showing you a lot of our brothers and sisters that's Masons that took an oath. They're not going to tell you the truth with that black stuff. And a lot of our friends, especially the women, that's Eastern Stars, they're not going to tell you that they under the DAR, which is the Daughters of American Revolution, that came with that marriage license stuff. So you don't have to listen to me. I just challenge you to do some research. The cryptic literature of Old Egypt, sealed in silence when Christianity took its rise, but haunted it like a specter after the 3rd century, now stalks forth like a living ghost out of the tomb, to the point its long finger of accusation at the faith that has too long striving on falsity. For that literature now rises out of oblivion to proclaim the true source of every doctrine of Christianity. An Egyptian, the product and heritage of a remote past, the books of old Egypt now unroll the sages of wisdom, which announce the inexorable truth that not a single doctrine, rite, tenet, or usage in Christianity was a new contribution to the world religion, but that every article and practice of the faith was a disfigured copy of ancient Egyptian mystery systems. The entire Bible, the creation, the legend, the descendant into the Exodus from Egypt, the Ark, and the flood allegory, Israelite history, Hebrew prophecy and poetry gospels, epistles, and revolution, imaginary, all are now proven to have been transmissions of ancient Egyptian scrolls and papyri into the hands of later generations, which knew their true origin nor the fathomless meaning, but the sheer fact that even amid the murks of ignorance and superstition, that mere ghosts, the shell, the husk, and a shadow of Egypt's wisdom inspire religious piety to extremes of faith and zealotry, is singular attestation of this original power and majesty. From the scroll of papyri, 5,000 to 10,000 years old, there comes stalking forth the view, the whole story of the Egyptian Jesus raising from the dead, an Egyptian Lazarus at an Egyptian Bethany, with 2 Egyptian Maoris present, the non-historical prototype of the incident related only in John's Gospel. In a collective way, Gerald Massey, the master, and his disciple Albert Churchward and Alvin Boyd Kahn have revealed that early African origins of the 3 major Western religions. All of these concepts were developed before the Bible was written and before the figure in history known as Jesus Christ was born. Alvin Boyd Kahn's book, The Lost Christianity. That's another one. The Lost Christianity. I'm going to write that down for you, brother, so I can make sure y'all get all those. Every one of y'all students that's in taking the classes, the religious classes with my professor, this is the extensive research that he's gonna clap his hands and he's gonna know you was dealing with me. Also need to be read as an extension of the views expressed in the above quote. Dr. Joseph Ben Jokerheim, John G. Jackson, and other modern scholars have reconsidered this information and prepared it for the use and understanding of students and teachers of our time. I refer to Dr. Jokerheim's book, The African Origins of the Major Western Religions, which I have them all, and John G. Jackson's Man, God, and Civilization. Yep, I'll write that down for you. Give me 1 second, family. Sorry about that. I just got to write these down for these students, so apologies. Yep, I got you. All right. In conclusion, as they say in the legal profession, I'll rest my case. And that's what my professor said when I was in academia. He was like, Sheik, you can rest your case if you're dealing with academia. And so I'm going to highlight some books. When people don't know what they talk about, this book right here is the selected parts of the Holy Bible for the use of Negro slaves in the British West India Islands. I'm not going to jump into it too much because I'll do a specific lecture on this. And I can show you all through the Bible how they taught this to Negro slaves, how they had the overseer. The overseer was the Protestant preacher to tell you how to teach and only have you read from certain parts of the Bible that try to say that you a slave. It's right here in the book, Christian Slavery, Conversion and Race in the Protestant Atlantic World. It's right here. I'm not here to argue with no one. I have education in what I'm talking about. I did oral dissertations with professors. So now I'm going to talk about this book right here. This is Thomas Jefferson's Quran. You know, they tried to burn a lot of books. Yes, you said it. I said it right. Thomas Jefferson's Quran. So I'm going to read something in here as well. And then we're going to go to the next topic. Among the 6,500 books sold to Congress by Jefferson in 1815 to replace the Congressional Library that had been destroyed when the British burned the Capitol during the war in 1812, because that's what they did in 1812. They tried to destroy everything and try to act like the Islamic studies wasn't right. I'm not talking about Islam. I'm not here to argue no man-made religion. That's not what I'm doing. I'm here giving you history. Was a translation of the Quran by George Sales. Sales' translation included more than 100 pages of notes written from a Christian perspective, including advice on how Muslims might be converted. These are preserved within this text. With only this introduction being added, there is some debate about whether he purchased his copy of the Quran in law school in order to follow references found in his textbooks, or if he purchased his copy of the Quran later in order to research the faith of the jihadists of his day, the Barbary pirates. So let me get to quoting a part that I want to make specifics on. Of course, these two uses of the Quran, once Jefferson had the volume within his possession, are not mutually exclusive. He very well may have used his Quran for both purposes. Jefferson's cataloged the books within his library by subject and included the Quran with other legal texts. I tell y'all, even the Ku Klux Klan, they studied the Quran. They just put an L in it. How I know? Because I have all their documents. And when I got my undergrad from Cleary University, where the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan stayed, they bow down to this because a lot of them are lower level Masons. Some of them are a part of the Philosophical Research Society. I'm just telling you what the truth is. But he also confronted Islamic extremists often during his story life. So while Thomas Jefferson was serving as U.S. ambassador to France, the Betsy, a merchant for all my military people, my cousin is on my Facebook page, so she know what I'm talking about because I broke this down before. The merchant brig was captured on October 11, 1784 by Moroccan Khazars. So now that one, they're calling you Moroccan Khazars, boom, listen to this, after Spain's foreign minister, Jose Moninho, Y. Redino negotiated the release of the captured ship and crew. Spain advised the United States to follow their course of action and pay tribute to the Berber Muslims to prevent further attacks. Months after the Betsy was captured, 2 additional American ships were seized, and their crew of 21 men was enslaved by Algerian corsairs. A schooner, Marie, commanded by Captain Isaac Stevens, was captured off Cape St. Vincent, Portugal, on July 24, 1785, and a week later, on July 30th, 1785. The Dolphin, commanded by Captain Richard O'Brien, was captured off Cadiz, Spain. This time, Spain was unwilling to negotiate on America's behalf. So, Jefferson in 1786, along with John Adams, the U.S. ambassador to Great Britain, met with Tripoli's ambassador to Great Britain, Sidi Haj Abdul Rahman Ajah. Thomas Jefferson reported the conversation to the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, John Jay. We took the liberty to make some inquiries concerning the grounds of their pretensions to make war upon a nation who had done them no harm, and observed that we consider all mankind as our friends who had done us no wrong. But you know the United States broke all treaties, nor had given us any provocation. The ambassador answered us that it was founded on the laws of their prophet, that it was written in their Quran that all nations who should not have acknowledged their authority were sinners, that it was their right and duty to make war upon them wherever they could be found, and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners, and that every Muslim, aka Muslim, who should be slain in battle was sure to go to paradise. Also, read a book called There Were White and There Were Slaves. Also, read a book called White Cargo, and then we can start seeing some more truth in American history. He said also that the man who was the first to board a vessel had one slave over and above his share, and that when they sprang to the deck of an enemy ship, every soldier held a dagger in each hand and a third in his mouth, which usually struck such terror into the foe that they cried out for a quarter at once. Thomas Jefferson decided to send representatives to Morocco and Algeria to try to negotiate treaties and to secure the freedom of the, captured sailors. Each of the 4 Berber Muslim states demanded 60,000. The envoys, however, were only given a budget of 40,000. Diplomatic negotiations to reach an amount for tribute or for the ransom of the captured sailors bogged down. The crews of the Marie and the Dolphin remained in captivity for over a decade and were soon joined by other captured crews. Letters and testimonies by captured sailors described their captivity as slavery. Most captives were forced into hard labor in the service of the Barbary pirates and lived in extremely harsh conditions. In 1795, Algeria came to an agreement that resulted in the release of 115 American soldiers they held at a cost of over $1 million. The U.S. paid Algiers the ransom and agreed to pay up to $1 million per year for the safe passage of American ships, and a $1 million payout in ransom and tribute to the Islamic States in 1800 would have amounted to approximately 10% of the U.S. government's annual revenue. In 1801, when Jefferson was president, Tripoli demanded a massive payment from the United States, along with an increase of annual tribute, in order to continue securing safe passage from American ships through the Mediterranean. Jefferson refused the demands, and instead of sending more money, he sent naval warships carrying the newly created U.S. Marine Corps. This is where the line "to the shore of Tripoli" in the Marine Corps hymn come from. So that's that part. The next part I want to break down is this one. This is Thomas Jefferson Quran, Islam and the Founding Fathers by Denise A. Spellberg. I had the pleasure to talk to all these professors. That's what they said. They was like, I'm just amazed that you're not teaching your own people and they're not putting you on the platform. All my European colleagues and all my European religious colleagues was like, I'm just amazed that you're not back in your city of Flint, Michigan and teaching your own, because my people like fake history. A lot of the misnomer Black churches, they are under it's called the, I forgot what it's called. It's called the Faith-Based Initiative. They're under the Faith-Based Initiative. So they teaching a government mandated spirituality, Negro slavery, and you're going to die and go to heaven and all this stuff. And you were sin and some curse of Ham and all that fake stuff. But I'll give the introduction to this. One rainy April morning in 2011, I requested Thomas Jefferson Quran from the rare library room in the Library of Congress. That's where I study at, and the Royal Archives. Outside, tulips blazed and bright patches of red around the Capitol building. The flowers reminded me of their origin in the Ottoman Empire. And then one of the major wars in history was the War of Ferdinand and Isabella. And they don't teach this to your kids. The War of Ferdinand and Isabella sit in all libraries. It's a little bitty red book. I got them over there. It's called The War and the Histories of Ferdinand and Isabella. Look it up. Nothing is hidden from us. The student had first sent them as a diplomatic gifts to European rulers in the 16th century. And by the mid-17th, the trade in the bulbs of these plants had reached a frenzy pitch in the Netherlands. Jefferson would add them to his guard at Monticello in 1806. And so it was that through contact with Muslims long ago, this stunning flower had eventually reached North America, where it now reigns as a sign of offspring. So I don't even want to go all into it. I recommended reading. Another one, The Name Negro, Its Origin and Evil Use. I'm not going to touch too much on it. I'll lecture on that specifically at another time because I want to get to what I'm getting to, and then I got to make a couple calls. This is one of the books that when you go on Amazon, research it. It's by Sharice C.L. McIntyre. It's called Criminalizing a Race. And then they got her on YouTube and on TikTok when she talking about a book, and everybody asking her about a book that she holding up in her hand. And I challenge you to go research it. I got the book. I'm gonna lecture on it tomorrow, or no, probably next week, because I just got a lot of things to do. I got new students, man, that's just starting school, so I want to help them get started off on their right foot, so they won't start off behind. But this is a book called Criminalizing Their Race: Free Blacks During Slavery. Look how much this book costs on Amazon. It's another book called The Forgotten Cause of the Civil War by Lawrence R. Tenzer. It's probably unavailable on Amazon, because if you had a tittle of black blood in your veins, you was considered a Negro. This book costs thousands of dollars. Why do some paper cost thousands of dollars on Amazon? Because it got history in it, and they know that the average Negro is not going to have it. This book right here, I love, is The First Americans Were Africans. And this is scholarship. When I say Africans, you have to listen to what I'm saying, not African Americans. But this is just scholarship, and I operate on scholarship, not how no one feel. Another book I love is The Chosen Ones. I'll show y'all a couple pictures in here. When a lot of people show pictures, but you see this picture of Wentworth Matthews, and if you look closely on there, you see the Moorish Zionist Temple of the Jews. And this was before before Israel was created, a country, a state, whatever you want to call it. And they got the white flag with the so-called 6-point star on a pentagram on it. Way before Israel was so-called created a country or a state, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it. I'm not here to argue with no one. You see Wentworth Matthews with his stole on like mine, my Jewish stole. I just don't feel like going back. Matter of fact, I'll go get it in a minute. I'll go get it from the back and I'll show you. Matter of fact, it won't take long for me to go get it. Hold on. A lot of things was given to me from sets and from educators and things. So this is my stole, or we call it talent. I have a plethora of them. I have a plethora of talents. I have all different colors of them. I got my red one. This is my newest one. Because I lecture at all houses, and I just come from scholarship. This is my red one. So I have a plethora of them. And on here, you can see Wentworth Matthews with his on. He just had his laid across him. He's right in the front. And you can pull these pictures up as well. And then I'll show you this picture of this brother right here. I'll show you this picture of this brother. That's Abdullah. If you ever heard of Neville Goddard, research Neville Goddard and research Neville Goddard and an Ethiopian rabbi that saved Neville Goddard's life. If you're educated, if you like history and all that stuff, you will know what I'm talking about. And Neville Goddard gave all the credit to Abdullah, the Ethiopian rabbi that saved his life. And so I'll read that, and then I'll go to my next topic. Then I'll go to my next topic. And so here, look at the picture. You see the brother with the turban on? Even in the Bible, peace, noble Malik, even in the Bible, it talks about your turban. The followers of Yahshua and the high priest wore the turban with the jewel on it. Even in your Bible, it talks about the bonnet that the Islam Muslim call a kufi. Even in the Bible, it talks about the followers of Yahshua wore their tunic, cotton or silk, or their kutra, cotton or silk with the embroidery on it, if you have your lexicon. So Rabbi Ford in a turban. Turbans were commonly used in Black spiritual churches and signified the mystical East when used by Black religious magical workers. So I just want y'all to get a good look at that as I go on to the next topic. I done shared so many historical books with everyone for study. So now I'm getting to the end of my dissertation. This is one of my noble's favorite books, White by Law. When I tell people white by law, but everybody get their pants ruffled in a feather when we say that. What's your nationality? My nationality is Moorish American. What's my race? I choose Asiatic. What's my status? Free white. If you don't know that, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not. That means you just don't know law. You don't know constitutional law. That means you don't know Declaration of Human Rights. Article 13, 14, 15. You don't know what manumissions are. Clear, peace, noble Malik. And I'm not here to argue with anyone. I broke this stuff down. My Mufti also lectured it. He shared it with his family. And I say, if you like reparations, which is wrapped up in law, well, it's going to take law to get your freedoms. So when you call yourself Negro, Black, and Colored, and African American, and all that, you're not going to get nothing, because all those are synonymous to slavery. And the only people that got paid for slaves is the people that created them. These are just facts. And the great God didn't create a slave. And so when people be getting all caught up, when I do these lectures on the college campus, I get standing ovations. This is called white by law. You can't get no one from the continent of Africa to call themselves some Negro or some African American. Never. When you fill out a job, when it say fill out your racial status, the average Negro going to put African American from the Black race or for the Black continent of Africa, which is nothing. And we don't read, and there's something on there that explains you to a T. All you got to do is look up the SF 181 form pertaining to ethnicity. And I don't have time to break this down, whether one was white. However, it was often no easy question, about naturalization and everything. I lectured this a plethora of times. We went over it a plethora of times, but it shows you how brainwashed the misnomer Black person is. It shows you how far we got to go, because misnomer Black people are so emotional. They operate on emotion, and they will use an adjective to explain them. I don't care if it's an adjective capitalized. It's not going to make it a noun. It's not going to make it a proper noun. Black is an adjective. And when you're dealing with Spanish, when you're dealing with negrito, that's what they call black beans. So more does not mean black. If that's the case, you would be black or black. But then you have those religious Hebrew Israelites that don't study education and history and linguistics because they want to play a religious game. And I'm not here to play no religious game with no one. I'm not here to do that. I'm not finna say this religion is better than this one, and this one is better than this one, and we all using the same book, and they all have the same forefathers and foremothers, and act like you can't be under faith. A lot of people that might have the blood in them will kill you, and they won't recognize and have a true conversation that a lot of us are saved by faith. Why? Because a lot of these Negroes break the law every single day of their life. So, another piece of history. This right here, this is what Prince was talking about. The 5 Negro presidents. Like me and my dad was talking about earlier. Because I love talking to my dad, and we have political conversations where we don't get mad and upset. My dad have his political understanding and feelings, and I do too. I just had the pleasure to study civics and to study hard about presidential selections. And I know what the Electoral College is about. I know about law and policy. So I don't get all caught up in a political party, especially Democrat and Republican, and you haven't voted local and state for your mayor, for your city councilman, for the judge, for the fire chief, for the police chief. That's an oxymoron if you just jump to presidency and you're not dealing with local, because they were all local before they got there. They was all dealing with certain local stuff before they got to that higher house. So this not to know what a person's agenda is crazy. And so we have these conversations, and I say, hey, I understand about the art of war. When everybody talk about look what the lady did, she had Megan Thee Stallion on there, because that's what Negroes like. Negroes don't. Only thing Negroes like is shucking and jiving with their teeth. Right now, most female rappers, they don't even know how to rap. They just show their body. And so that's what the program have done. So I understand the art of war. If you're going to get a certain people and get all misnomer black people because all they like to do is show their teeth and try to get them to vote, hey, that's your agenda. But then what's the black agenda? Who are you going to have accountable? Because black has no standing in law. So when you say she's going to be the first black president, well, is there any laws that she's going to have for black people? No, I don't care about that. I'm an American. I want an American in place. I don't care about those things. I'm an American. I'm not white. I mean, I'm not black. So none of that stuff even matters to me. I'm not no slave. So when I go places, I already let people know for the record. So I'm not even included in that Negro, black, African American stuff and that Black Lives Matter crap. I ain't rocking with that. Because I know law. I know politics. And I'm not here to argue with no one's political fight. Because the average person, misnomer black person, when I ask them, what is this person's agenda? What is this person law and policy? They can't tell you. They just say, well, this person black. And I say, well, whatever. But in 1963, when Attorney General Kennedy and Senator Javits said there might be a Negro president in the next 34 years, fact, most outspoken of the big magazines replied, there were already one in its January-February 1964 issue, had an article, America's First Negro President. It named Warren G. Harding as one, and had affidavits from elderly whites who knew the Harding family. This was Prince was talking about. But before Harding, 3 other presidents had been loudly proclaimed by white people as being of Negro ancestry: Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, and Abraham Lincoln. Even your boy, the Cointel brother, the European, that came up with the death of the Black Messiah. I can't think of his name. It'll come to y'all. It'll come to you. He had his family, his mother and them was black, but he dyed his skin a lot. I pull up facts. That's why I don't get into that black stuff with the black Muslims. They always be saying, oh, this ain't Farah Muhammad and this ain't that. I say, man, I'm not finna play no game with y'all. And I know a lot of the Nation of Islam, and I know Farrakhan is down with Dianetics, and they say the white man is the devil, but you take their whole ideology. Man, I don't have no dog in no fight. And then at the Million Man March in 1995, no disrespect to Farrakhan. If he was right here, I'd tell him to his face. I don't fear no man. I said, you lied. You came with that Willie Lynch stuff to try to get black people to act like that's something real. And the Willie Lynch letter is not even real. Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover. The Willie Lynch letter is not even real. Black wasn't even used to describe ethnicity in the first century. Black was only used to describe when the black curtain come down in theater. And so that's all propaganda. But they'll let Negroes have it. I showed y'all where at the college where the European lady, the article, the writer said, we're just going to put this out here to Negroes. It's all pseudo. And he knew that when he got up there with that Million Man March. You got rappers talk about some Willie Lynch. It's not even real. And then you got people talking about some roots. And I showed y'all how Alex Haley plagiarized roots from a European named Harold Colander from his book called The African. And Alex Haley got sued millions of dollars. But that's what they do to misnomer the black folk, because they'll use our own so-called figures and put them up front, and they'll promote that pseudo academia, that black stuff. Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln. The portraits of none of the above mentioned show the slightest degree of Negro strain, but it's certainly not proof. Even before the revolution, many of Negro ancestry had become so white that whites who had been kidnapped and sold as Negroes could not prove they were really white. And that comes from, like I showed y'all, research this book right here. Research this book right here. See how much it costs. The Forgotten Cause of the Civil War. I paid $2,000 for the original books, and I converted them to PDF. because I spend my money on things that's value. All my professors bought these books. All the college people bought these books. They say these NFTs. They download them on their tablet, and then they save them on their tablet, and then they have us print them and bind them, and they share the information. But we don't. But we don't. But we don't. That's why I don't deal with Negroes. That's why I can care less about a Moor or about anybody that, because all we just gonna do is act like some sovereign citizens and act like we supposed to overthrow the government, and that ain't what this about. We all in the Constitution. We supposed to defend the Constitution. Everything else is sovereign citizen, militia, retarded stuff. And so here go Abraham. It's a cartoon in 1860. The original source was unknown. It appears in David Browder's Ordeal of Presidency, and you can note how they got Lincoln with woolly hair. So this is what Prince was talking about, y'all. Abraham Lincoln was said to be the illegitimate son of a Negro by Nancy Hanks. In his campaign for the presidency, he was often referred to as a Negro by his opponents. He was even depicted as a Negro. He was called Abraham Africanus I. What gave strength to this was that his hair was more Negroid than Caucasian. So was his color. Even when you look up Alex Pushkin, the person that came up with the Russian language and all that, I show y'all. I'll show everybody. And I don't come for no disrespect to no one. Of his father, he said his face was round, his complexion swarthy. Swarthy is copper color, just like brunette. If you understand etymology, hair black and coarse, eyes brown. Remember, before Abraham Lincoln was the president, he was an attorney. He defended the Moore in court. That's the Spencer and Dungy law. Research the Spencer and Dungy case. Research the Spencer and Dungy case, because it was illegal to be a Negro, black, and colored ever since 1865. You ain't got to listen to me. All you got to do is do some research. You can even look up the Wilmington's White Man Constitution. Look up the Wilmington White Man Constitution. How all those Europeans came together and kicked Negroes out their city. It's called the Wilmington's White Man Constitution. And do some history. You ain't got to listen to me. Of himself, of dark complexion with coarse hair and dark eyes, Herndon, his closest friend and law partner, said he had very dark skin. Just like when you talk about Mozart and all them, they were copper colored. When you research Angelo Solomon, the first Moorish Mason, and then a lot of stuff will start coming out, and then I start connecting you to stuff in the first century, not modern stuff. His confidential servant William Slade, an ex-slave and a Negro, was much fairer and had straight hair. Slade looked like a white man, Herndon said. There was something about his Lincoln's origin he never cared to dwell on. Other writers agree with him. Coleman says all we know about President Lincoln's parentage and birth under his own hand are two brief records. One, an entry in the Bible in his own handwriting that he was born on February 12, 1809, and the other, a brief autobiography, which he gave Mr. Jesse R. Fell in December 1856 for a campaign sketch. Lincoln had a secret preying on his mind. Was it his race? So that's one. I don't want to talk about too much of that. It's another history. Lincoln had a secret preying. Okay, his race. His enemies harped on it. Herndon says of it, Lincoln often thought of committing suicide. Why? Did the knowledge of his mother's origin or his own press the thought of suicide upon him? And that's in the Hidden Lincoln Papers, page 412. It was written in 1938. Jacobson mentions a catechism by a Western author adducing evidence that Lincoln was of Negro ancestry, or gratitude noble. He also mentions another catechism by Chauncey Burr, who said it would not rebound the Lincoln's honor to have it proven that he is part Negro. Because just like this says, if you had a little bit of tittle of blood in you, you was a mulatto, but you was a Negro. And they knew it. Sympathy with his own race, we might find excuses. So then you got Vice President Hamilton, even more than Lincoln, was Vice President Hannibal Hamlin, said to be a Negro, while a United States Senator from Maine, he was often attacked from the floor because of his dark skin. The one opponent, he replied, I take my color from nature. You get yours from the brandy bottle, which is more honorable. He was a special target for the South during the 1860 campaign, the more so as he was more outspoken. I got the book that they give y'all kids when they go to school and take civics class. It's called 1774, 1776. and they whitewashed Oliver Cromwell and Peter Salmon out of the battle of Bunker Hill. I did lectures on that in college too. You can hear a pin drop. Warren G. Hardin, the fifth president said to be of Negro ancestry would not be named. There seems to be no publishing research on his ancestry in the case of Harding. So I just wanted to touch on that. Look at Alexander Hamilton, drawn from Life by Peale, New York Public Library collection. Hamilton was darker in color than the picture shows, but note his woolly hair. Note his woolly hair. Note his woolly hair. Note his woolly hair. These is black and white pictures. I got the original pictures that show it because the heathen, the European, tried to whitewash themselves in the history books. And that was a part of our history to change what they look like and change their noses. I can take you to the Greek churches and show you all these truths. So I just want to show that. And so the last little piece of history that I want to show and talk to y'all about is the black codes in Georgia. The black codes in Georgia. When I tell people, a lot of our brothers that's Freemasons, that's 32 and 33 degrees, it's nothing wrong with being initiated. But when you take an oath to lie, and every European that I met, they wear the fez and they have Mecca, Islam on it. Because a European Mason will tell you that he or she is a son of a Muslim, but a Negro Mason will tell you that he's some widow's son. And how can you be some widow's son? That's why a lot of our Masonic brothers and sisters lied to us, especially our so-called Eastern Stars. You can't believe in the Messiah and took an oath. It says it in Matthew chapter 5:34. But then brotherhood is something good, and our own people have lied to us. No disrespect to no one. You would always be a slave, no matter if you free or a slave. And I tell people this all day. All you gotta do is look up the facts. I don't wrote the science. All Masons that's on a high level, pull them up. The Prince Hall Masons, our empresses that call themselves some Eastern Stars, they wear the fez in clandestine. You will never see them with a fez on. They wear the fez in clandestine and secrecy. They think their own daughters are perverse. How can you say that you believe in this Messiah and the teachings and you got some potentate? How? It goes against it because the scriptures tell you not to take the oath. The scriptures tell you when you read Psalms 133 and 1 and 3, how brotherhood is a good thing and how we must come together. I'm just a mapping a guy in the flesh. But our fez, you see, when I wear my fez, my tassel ain't pinned down. I'm not here to hide nothing from my brothers and sisters. Our own people have done that. I told y'all, pull up Steve Coakley and how he talk about the boule and how he tell you that the Greek is a lie. The Greek is a fraud. And then George G.M. James, Stolen Legacy. And then I start being specific on how these Freemasons that call themselves some 32 and 33 degree Masons. Well, in your Bible, if you know analogy and parable, that's when the so-called Messiah died. That ain't no science. That's snowman wisdom. That's when meteorology, that's when water freezes. It's no science in that. It's no science in no snowman. And it ain't no disrespect. I've taken no oath. I'm initiated through the wisdom and through education. I'm an alchemist. Those 32 and 33 degree European Masons that's out here, I'll teach them. I set their light out. And when I say set their light out, it's no disrespect. They give honor. It's no disrespect. When I deal with my European Jewish colleagues, it's no disrespect. Well, why? And they call me Melchizedek. And I teach them and their kids. I'm not here to disrespect no one. I'm just here to bring light to a situation. And it's our only people that's lost. And my people are lost due to a lack of knowledge. Why? Because they refuse to learn what they have done. They took oath. And the Greek is a fraud. The European will tell you that the Greek is a fraud. I showed y'all all the books in the first century that tell you this. All the books that I showed you about Albert Churchward and Gerald Massey and all of them tell you that the Greek is a fraud. And then when I deal with constitutional law, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment, when I deal with the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15, what Obama said, when everybody said, well, Obama said he wasn't black. Yeah, because Obama know the law. Obama know language. He know Latin. He know how things was written. According to science and law, black mean death. And Obama knew he's not an adjective. Obama told you what his Moroccan, his African heritage, his genealogy. If you are more, we from the tribe of Judah, lineage of David by blood. That's biblical. So what we talk about anymore that be dissing the scriptures, they dissing themselves. Well, what are you? I'm some sovereign citizen. That's an oxymoron, retardo, fardo. I'm from the tribe of Judah, lineage of David by blood. We're the only people that can trace ourselves back to the books, but we let other people replace us in history. That's whitewashing the history books all through history. That's the Ringling Circus. That's how they have the slave ship of Jesus of Lambert. And he had the Demi Moore flag. This is no disrespect to no one. I'm giving you American history. It's no disrespect. If I was disrespectful, how can I graduate with honors with a dual master's degree from Grand Canyon University in first century history and religion? How? With honors. With honors. How could I? And my professors let me come and lecture in his classes. And my European professors let me come lecture in the class that they teach African American history, but them retarded black professors that took an oath, they were the shame. And my professor, that's a European potentate out here, he was like, shame on y'all misnomer black preachers and professors that won't let this scholar come educate these people. They ain't here just to get no grade. They should be here to educate and challenge the system from peer-reviewed scholarly research, which I have done. So I'm gonna give y'all this little bit and I'm out of here. After the English colonies were settled in North America, beginning in the early 17th century, Western European notions of race and ethnicity quickly appeared in the relationships between Native American Indians and the Euro-American colonists. Racial categories generally follow a model of three distinct groups: Caucasoid or white, and that Caucasus Mountain stuff come from a European named Bloomback. All pseudo. It comes from Bloomback. Research Bloomback. All pseudo. I done this in college. I got a standing ovation. I know what I'm talking about. Negroid or black, and Oriental, yellow, or some versions thereof. The three groups: Negroid, because of blacker skin, which was equated with darkness, ignorance, and evil. So I don't want to touch about all that. I'll give some of the codes and I got to get out of here. Contrary to popular belief, black codes did not begin in 1865 in order to govern and restrict the lives of newly freed slaves. In the state of Georgia, you will find that the black codes were written as early as the 1700s. Whether they were referred to as slave codes pre-1865, black codes, or Jim Crow laws 1876 to 1967, black codes were and are a comprehensive and systematically arranged body of law created to devalue, dehumanize, degrade, disenfranchise, restrict, deny, separate, punish, and oppress people of African ancestry. What make you a Moorish American? Because you're born here in America with African descent. I'm a Moorish American. I'm not an African American. I'm a Moorish American. I told you. And no one can tell me who I am. I'm going to tell you who you are. Only dogs get named by their master. Only dogs get named by their masters. So let me give y'all a little bit. Definition from the Revised Code of Georgia, 1863. Who are citizens? All free white persons. Who are citizens? All free white persons. No matter if you're a Negro or a black Freemason, you still a slave. On Oprah, they asked the lady, what's the law that blacks gonna always be slave, no matter free or slave? The Dred Scott law. Ding, ding, ding. The European lady knew that off the top because the Dred Scott law was never abolished. Research what I'm saying. But you say Black Lives Matter. No, the hell it don't. Not pertaining to no law, because according to science and law, black means death. And we are connected to science and law. If you not, then that's your fault. See, these are facts. Who are citizens? All free white persons born in this state or any other state of this union who are, or many, or may become residents of this state with the intention of remaining therein. All free white persons naturalized under the law of the Confederate States. Who is white? Persons having 1/8 or more of Negro or African blood in their veins are not white persons in the meaning of this code. Status of a mother fixed that the other children, the status of every person in the state upon the question of freedom is determined by the status of his or her mother. Free Negroes, once slaves who have, with their owners' consent, left the state to reside in a state or country where slavery is not tolerated to become free. And free Negroes who have changed their residence to any state are within the provisions of this chapter and cannot return hither. Article 1, who are persons of color? all Negroes, mulattoes, mestizos, and their descendants having 1/8 Negro or African blood in their veins shall be known in this state as person of color. That was the hidden cause of the Civil War. What if you had a tint of black blood in your veins? You was considered a Negro. That's the forgotten cause of the Civil War. Look how much this book costs on Amazon. I'm telling you, it costs stacks. And you know I'm telling the truth. And y'all don't want these books from me, and I converted to PDF because you can't get them. I'm telling you. Child legitimate. Where every colored child born before the 9th day of March, 1866, is hereby declared to be the legitimate child of his mother. But such child is the legitimate child of his colored father only when born within what was regarded as a state of wedlock, or when the parents were living together as husband and wife. That's the atrocities of the single mother. When our misnomer black women, we talk about they single moms. I'll lecture that another time. The atrocity of a single mother. That ain't nobody to be no single mother. That ain't no baby mom. That ain't it. You a mother, period. Definition of slaves. A slave is one over whose person's liberty, labor, property, another has legal control. Presumption of slavery. All Negroes and mulattoes are deemed and are hereby declared to be prima facie slaves, and it rests upon those alleged freedom to prove it. Mulatto. A mulatto is one in whose veins there is at least 1/8 of Negro blood. Chattels. All slaves are chattels. The presidents wrote misnomer black people in their chattel as what? Slaves in they documents, and to be governed by the same laws, except in cases expressly provided by statute, or where the nature of property requires a modification of the ordinary rule. Natural rights. When people talk about civil rights, I talk about human rights, natural rights, the laws of nature guaranteed to every man. I talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yep, that too. An animal. The right, just like a hybrid. Research what a hybrid is. This person and a slave and all this, but you're not a hybrid. I lectured this in college. You can hear a pin drop. They ain't got nothing to do with you. This life and its limbs, unless forfeit for crime. The state of slavery debars no one of this right. Dominion of third persons. While the slave is the dominion of his master, third persons have no right of dominion over him, farther than the laws that give such rights for police purposes. Acquisition of slaves. A slave cannot acquire or hold property. That's when Abraham Lincoln defended the Moor in court, because Negroes couldn't own nothing. You couldn't be married. You know what you say? So they referred to mixed people as hybrids. Research what a hybrid is. Research what it is, because remember, when you look up words, you got to look up at all the explanations of it. And when it was written, not just the beginning. Well, a hybrid ain't no car. You gotta research it and go all the way down to the definitions. And you'll be like, oh, when it's pertaining to a people, and you'll see it. I guarantee you will find it. All his acquisitions belong to his master. Gifts to him accompany. So I want to go to some other stuff. Who are free people of color? Free persons of color are either emancipated slaves or their descendants, or such persons as shall have at least 1/8 of Negro blood in their veins. I want to get to some other stuff before I go. Here we go. I want to get to the worship codes, because a lot of this is in here. And if y'all want the black codes, all my students have this. One of my European students lectured this on a college campus. He had all them black folks jaw dropping out their mouth when they was all at school protesting at GCU, talking about Black Lives Didn't Matter. And they asked me, am I going to be a part of that? Because I know history. I said, hell no, I'm not going to be a part of no stupid stuff. I'm not. I know history. And all the professors were like, he's right. I'm not here to argue with no one and get caught up in nobody's personal feeling. I'm not on nobody's feeling side. I'm on the law. And the law has no sides. It defends itself. And I can rest my case with no rebuttal. And I've done that every time in academia. I rest my case every time with no rebuttal. So I'm going to give y'all this last little bit and I'm out of here. Peace, Noble Mufti, Brian. So worship codes, 1749. In case of any contagious distempers on board, proper places must be appointed at a distance from the town for sagredos, where the whole crew of ships and the Negroes may be lodged and supplied with refreshments and assisted towards their recovery. No master shall oblige or even suffer his Negro or Negroes to work on the Lord's day. And that's where that come from when they talk about this Sabbath day. But you don't even know that. When I showed y'all culture, that was our day to come together. But we take slave stuff and then try to make it religion, because that's what they did with the overseer. That's what they did to us. I'm telling you. They wanted you, that was the time of the day for instruction in Christian religion, which the Protestant, like I showed y'all, which the Protestant, when I showed you selected parts of the Holy Bible for the use of Negro slaves, selected parts of the Bible for the use of Negro slaves is right here. I lectured all this on a college campus. I showed you Christian slavery, conversion and race in the Protestant Atlantic world. This book is written by a European lady. So you can't get mad at me. I'm giving you Americana history, which our brothers and sisters have been lied to by our own kind. But the Christian religion, which the Protestant ministers, the minister or ministers shall on all occasions inculcate in the Negroes the natural obligations to a married state where there are female slaves cohabiting with them, and an absolute forbearance of blaspheming the name of God by profane cursing or swearing. No disrespect. Even when they talk about anti-Semitic, which they try to use, I show where the whole concept of anti-Semitic came from. All you got to do is get the Jewish encyclopedias, and I break everything down. I come from history. I don't come from no biased place. If Nick Cannon would have had me on the show instead of the brother, I forget that I always come with the propaganda, and stop trying to do a color thing and just use their books and their writings to prove your case, no one can say nothing. Because I get their Jewish encyclopedias and I tell you what they say. What they say is what, and what they say is this, and what are the definitions of this, and where anti-Semitic really came from, and why they came up with that concept from their mouth, from their pen. I don't have to use our writers. I use their writers, and I use their encyclopedias to tell you what Edom and what they say. And then you can come back to me and have a conversation, because I'm gonna use what they written. We just don't have access to it, which I do. 1833. No person of color, whether free or slave, shall be allowed to preach, to exhort, or join in any religious exercise with any persons of color, either free or slave, there being more than 7 persons of color. So we couldn't do this in the so-called slavery days if it was 7 people of color. I couldn't do this. They shall first obtain a written certificate from an ordained minister of the gospel of their own order, licensed not to be for a longer term than 6 months, and to be revocable at any time the person is granted it. The General Assembly of Georgia, section 1373, it shall be unlawful for any church, society, or other body, or any persons to grant any license or other authority to any slave or free person of color to preach or exhort or otherwise officiate in church matters. B, at the hymns, and the same is hereby replaced. So that's all I got. I can go on and on and on, but I got some work I need to take care of. But if y'all want some of these books, I tell everybody, send a donation to Cash App $KGBay. I'll put these books in your hand. It's 2 books that I recommend everybody to have right now. Go on Amazon and look these 2 books up right now and tell me what they cost. I'll wait. The first one is called Criminalizing a Race, Free Blacks During Slavery. It's by Sharice L. McIntyre. And the other book is called The Forgotten Cause of the Civil War by Lawrence R. Tenzer. It's another book called Melanin, the chemical key to Black greatness. And that book's called Stacks. I'm able to get those books in y'all hand for donations. You can get these books for a $25 donation. $25. I'll send these to your email. Or my company will print it and bind it for you for a price. Or you can go right to Office Max and Staples and have them print and bind a book for you. You should want the information. You should want to go on Amazon, as they have a black hand and they charging thousands of dollars for these books. All the other books I have, like Russian Icon by Vladimir Ivanov, that costs thousands of dollars. You should want to get those for me. And you can get that book for me for $25 donation. So I showed y'all. I'll show y'all the other book that's worth thousands that I recommend for y'all to have. If I can find it. Here you go. All right, I gotta go. My phone blowing up. So this is one. Look on Amazon and see how much this costs. This is how we print and buying the books. No book on Amazon should cost this the amount of money. Matter of fact, I'll pull it up before I go to show y'all. And it don't even take me this long when I'm doing it on the college campus. All college kids, they give a donation. Everyone with no problem. And they use it in school. So I'm about to show y'all the price of these couple books and I'm out of here. I couldn't find Russian icons because I didn't feel like digging it all out. But I'll show y'all this one. But I'll pull up Russian icon and tell you how much it costs. If they got it available. They might not even have it available. So this book costs $849 on Amazon. $849. $849 on Amazon. $849 on Amazon. $849 on Amazon. $849 on Amazon. And one of the chapters just took out the book on Amazon. How I know? Because I already know, because I got the original book. That's how I know. And I got it right here. You can get it on your tablet or go to Office Max and Staples and they'll print it and bind it like this. My other company, binditbooks.com, we sell a book for a fraction of the price. But right now, I'm offering this book to you for only a $25 donation that I'll send to your email. And I don't even have to say it too much to college students. They be like, you ain't got to tell us, but they'll donate more because they know how much worth it is. They know what it's worth. And this book, $849 on Amazon. $849 on Amazon. When you look up this book, watch this. Let's see. Let's see how much Criminalizing the Race is on Amazon. Criminalizing the Race on Amazon is $999. $999 for this book. $999 for this book. No way you should pay no stupid $999 for some stupid paper. And I got all the original books and I convert them to PDFs so you can download on your tablet and we print it and bind it. $1,000 for this book. $1,000. They know you're not gonna buy it. They know the average Negro not gonna buy it. Let's see, the Forgotten Cause. Let's see, the Forgotten Cause of the Civil War. Let's see how much it costs on Amazon. It might be unavailable. The Forgotten Cause of the Civil War is $544 on Amazon. $544 on Amazon. $544 on Amazon. This right here. $544 on Amazon. So right now, I just showed y'all $2,500 worth of books. $2,500 worth of books. And we ain't smart enough to deal with a brother that say, man, this man is offering these books for $25 that I can download on my tablet and I can go to Office Max and Staples and they'll print it and bind it. That's why I don't have no problem doing what I'm doing. I don't. Because what I teach is not popular to the misnomer black person, to the black person that call himself a Christian or Black Lives Matter. I deal with people that know my voice. Let's see. Can I find this book? It might be available on Amazon. Nope, and it's still not available on Amazon. Oh yes, it is. It's for $40. This is a good piece of history. It's not expensive, but it's called the Unknown Arab. It's only $40 on Amazon. It might be unavailable. Somebody told me they tried to order it on Amazon and they never got it. It's called the Unknown Arab. And the last one I want to show y'all. Oh no, I got one more. Let me see. Russian icons by Vladimir Ivanov. I just didn't feel like pulling it out because I got so much stuff over there, man. I'll be putting books away forever. Now, the paperback book costs $185, but the book right here is $1,799. Russian Icons by Vladimir Ivanov. They are Russian icons, not no ancient blacks. How I saw a brother on YouTube talking about these are the ancient blacks. Ain't no such thing as no ancient blacks. They Russian icons, smart guy. They not black. They Russian icons. Just like David McRitchie wrote about the ancient and martyr Britons, you and me. They not black. They ancient and martyr Britons. I mean, we just lost. And the last one I want to show y'all is this book. Let's see how much Sacred Drift is. Sacred Drift by Peter Lambert Wilson is $59 on Amazon. You see who he got on the cover there? Noble Drew Ali. Look with your eyes. This is a European. Noble Drew Ali is on the cover. That's Sacred Drift. It's right here. I print and bind every book. Every book original I had, I print it and bind it and turn it into a PDF for everybody can have it. So I'm done with my little dissertation. Like I said, if anybody want the books or if anybody like the teachings, Cash App $KG Bay. Send me an email to my email, which is GOODMANKHARY. Let me know you sent the donation, and I'll make sure either I send it to you or one of my muftis send it to you. And then I invite you to be my private guest for Sunday school every Sunday at 2 p.m. AZ time zone, and you can be my special guest for a DAP class every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. AZ time zone. And we do it on my Temple and School YouTube page and Facebook page at Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School. So with that being said, man, I love everyone, man. I give gratitude for everybody for taking time out their day, listen to me. And if y'all have it on your heart to give a donation to my Temple and School, it's Cash App $KG Bay. If you're looking for turbans, fez, bonnets, kufis, Moorish American regalia, our kruthas, our tunics, cotton or silk, or any other clothing and material and books, I have another company called MoorishHaberdasher.com where you can get your fez, you can get your turbans, all other things. So I love y'all, man. Thank you for taking time out y'all day, listening to little old me, and I give everyone honor and gratitude, peace, light, and illumination.